Gopi Charanallabha Givaradhari Gopi Charanallabha Givaradhari. Nice remix. Remix. Gopi Charanallabha it's a remix. Remix. That was beautiful.
We're on live stream. We're on live stream.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what's happening right now.
I like it.
By Rsi Kumar Prabhu. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Vaisnava Acharayas Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shri Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakti Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulasi Devi ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. I just turned off this setting, this noise removal setting, because it just mutes you when like things get loud. If there's like singing or kartals, it just mutes it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Okay.
Chandan, are you going to share the screen?
Yeah, sorry, I'm like few things to attend sometimes.
Chandan
Okay.
Acharya, do I read any verse from the Bhagavatam, or do we just jump right into the appearance?
He's gonna mainly do the appearance and disappearance today. There's like
There's 6.
Yeah, there's 6.
Vasanta Panchami.
It's quite a lot. So I think after you finish that, then you could go into the verses if you get there. But otherwise, we just have this today.
All right.
So you just chant your prayers and yeah.
Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tafa Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Prijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitam Scha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshri Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so today is, well, I'll just go through in an order here as I read about each personality. But one thing is that today is the appearance day of Srimati Vishnu Priya Devi, who we can read about in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jai Jai Shri
Jai Shri
Chaitanya,
Chaitanya,
Jai
Jaya
Nityananda,
Jaya
Nityananda.
Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda,
Jai
Jai
Advaita
Advaita Chandra,
Chandra,
Jai
Jai
Gaurabhakta Vrinda.
Jaya
Nityananda,
Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jai Jai Shri
Jai
Chaitanya,
Chaitanya, Jai
Jai
Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta
Jai
Vrinda,
Advaita
Jai
Chandra,
Advaita Chandra,
Jai
Jaya
Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta
Jaya
Vrinda,
Vrinda.
Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda,
Jai
Jai
Jai Shri
Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jai Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jai Advaita
Jai
Chandra,
Advaita
Jai
Chandra,
Jai
Jaya Gaura
Gaurabhakta
Bhakta
Vrinda.
So, in the 16th chapter of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, I'll just read a few of these verses here. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu contributed the greatest benefit to the people. This is text 19 of Adi Leela chapter 16. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu contributed the greatest benefit to the people of East Bengal by initiating them into Harinam, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and making them learned scholars by educating them. Because the Lord was engaged in various ways in preaching work in East Bengal, his wife Lakshmi Devi was very unhappy at home and in separation from her husband. The snake of separation bit Lakshmi Devi, and its poison caused her death. Thus, she passed to the next world. She went back home, back to Godhead. Lord Chaitanya knew about the disappearance of Lakshmi Devi because he is the super soul himself. Thus, he returned home to solace his mother Sachi Devi, who was greatly unhappy about the death of her daughter-in-law. When the Lord returned home, bringing with him great wealth and many followers, he spoke to Sachi Devi about transcendental knowledge to relieve her of the grief she was suffering. After coming back from East Bengal, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again began educating others. By the strength of his education, he conquered everyone, and thus he was greatly proud. Then, Lord Chaitanya married Vishnupriya, the goddess of fortune, and thereafter he conquered a champion of learning named Keshava Kashmiri. Okay, so a little more details about Srimati Vishnupriya Devi is found, let me see, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anti Leela, chapter 14, text 7. The translation is, Swarup Damodar Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami recorded all these transcendental activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in their notebooks. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes an interesting point that I thought should be included here. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's transcendental feelings of separation from Krishna and his consequent madness are not at all understandable by a person on the material platform. Nonetheless, a so-called party of devotees named Nadia Nagari has sprung up and introduced worship of Vishnu Priya. This certainly indicates their ignorance concerning Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. In the opinion of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, such worship is a product of the imagination. Many other methods of worshipping Chaitanya Mahaprabhu have also been introduced, but they have all been rejected by stalwart devotees like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The groups practicing such unauthorized worship have been listed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Ola Bola Kartabhaja Neda Daravesha Shani Sahajya Saki Veki Smarta Gata Gosai Ativadi Chodadari Goranga Nagari. Swarup Damodar Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami witnessed Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities firsthand and recorded them in 2 notebooks. Therefore, without reference to these notebooks, one cannot understand the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Anyone inventing some new method for worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is certainly unable to understand the Lord's pastimes, for he is bereft of the real process of approaching the Lord. So there we were hearing how if someone's inventing some new method that for worshiping the Lord, then they'll never actually understand the Lord. What was it? What was that verse? Utshrija vartate kamakartaha nasasatim avapnoti nasukam na.
Yashasravidam Utsrijya.
Yeah, that's the first line. Yashashridam utshrija vartate kamakartaha
Nasasiddham avapnoti. Nasukam na paramgatim.
Yeah, he's not going to attain happiness. He's not going to attain perfection or the ultimate goal of life if somebody is performing, if someone's neglecting the Vedic injunctions. So if they're not taking the reference of the works of the previous acharyas about who is the personality of Godhead and instead inventing some new method to worship him, then it's a useless waste of time. And luckily, Srila Prabhupada has quoted Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who lists out these different groups here. So earlier in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada writes that when a great acharya, or a great personality directly empowered by the Lord leaves the planet, there's more or less some degree of chaos in the world where people kind of lose track of the right path, and many so-called followers of what was originally propounded spring up, and there's all sorts of trouble following the disappearance of such a great personality. But luckily, there's so much given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita where people can learn from history what different problems might arise. So all these different groups of so-called Vaishnavas are listed here, and one can hear about any of them, and then they can see where these kind of things are springing up today and immediately know not to associate with that or to try to shut it down if they have the capacity to do that. So we see some of these activities that these different groups do happen today or have re-sprung up today. And by hearing from Srila Prabhupada and his representatives, one can know to avoid these things. Like we just read that this worship that sprung up from the Nadia Nagaris introducing worship of Vishnu Priya isn't bona fide. So then there's so many other weird things that spring up that aren't not meant to be done by devotees. So there's a few things, and that verse we left off on was mentioning how not only did Lord Chaitanya marry Vishnu Priya, the goddess of fortune, but just after he conquered the champion of learning named Keshava Kashmiri. And I see also that today is a Saraswati Puja, and that was a big deal in this battle with Keshava Kashmiri, this battle of wits between Lord Chaitanya and Keshava Kashmiri. So the goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning, she is giving intelligence to everybody, but that intelligence is ultimately coming from Krishna. Like Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita. Let me find the verse. Yeah. Let's see. Bijam mam sarvabhutanam vidiparta sanatanam buddhir buddhi matam asmi tejas tejas nam aham. O son of Pritha, know that I am the original seed of all existences, the intelligence of the intelligent, and the prowess of all powerful men. So the Krishna, he's the intelligence of the intelligent, and that intelligence is also facilitated or passed down through the what would you call that? Not jurisdiction, but the agency of goddess Saraswati. And so we can learn that nicely in the Chaitanya Charitamrita when Lord Chaitanya, he meets this Keshava Kashmiri, who's known to be the best scholar in the land. Everyone's fired up about how smart Keshava Kashmiri is. But when meeting Lord Chaitanya, who at that time was just a boy and only a student of grammar, not even onto these higher subjects yet, of there's so many things that one learns in Sanskrit and poetry and all of these things. And so externally, Nimai appeared as a lower student than this Keshava Kashmiri. And to show his prowess, Keshava Kashmiri, he immediately composes in a short amount of time 100 verses glorifying Ganga?
Yeah.
Glorifying the Ganga. And Lord Chaitanya, because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the source of all of anyone's intelligence, the most intelligent, he immediately can catch the faults in the verses that he recited. So Keshava Kashmiri, he asks him, I recited all of these verses as fast as the wind. How are you able to memorize even one of them? And Lord Chaitanya asks him, well, can you please explain to me the faults in what you have composed? And Keshava Kashmiri is a little puffed up. He says, there are no faults in what I just spoke. And Lord Chaitanya calms him down and says that there actually are. He explains to him there are faults in it, and there's also good things. So now, if you wouldn't mind, we can discuss the faults that were in your poetry. So Keshava Kashmiri asks Lord Chaitanya to say whatever the faults were. And Lord Chaitanya has a humble mood about it, we read in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's not like roasting him in front of everybody. But every time Keshava Kashmiri will get a little fried out, or he's telling him there's no faults in it, Lord Chaitanya, he calms him down in a very nice way, in a very he tells him that there's good things, there's also faults. And he arranges it in just like an educational mood, just so we can learn. Can we go over these different things? So Lord Chaitanya points out to him these different faults. Like one of them is what is it? Bhavani Bharata. Bhavani Bharata. In this verse, you said the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva, and this makes it sound like Lord Shiva's wife has two husbands. It makes it sound like she has two husbands. So that's one fault there. And then there were another one where he introduced some like a subject before a predicate, or I don't know about grammar that deeply, but he introduced speaking about something before saying what that thing is, which doesn't work. So like this, Lord Chaitanya points out the faults, and Keshava Kashmiri, after he's defeated by Lord Chaitanya, he starts to think, how has this happened? I must have displeased Goddess Saraswati, who empowers me to speak like this and be so intelligent. And immediately after he thinks that, Lord Chaitanya confirms it, and he says, this is happening by the arrangement of, this is certainly just Goddess Saraswati, who's enabling me to point out these faults and whatnot. And so Keshava Kashmiri, then it's confirmed, and he feels bad. And that evening, he's wondering why it is that his worshipable demigod, the goddess Saraswati, has let him be defeated in such a humiliating way. Although Lord Chaitanya didn't make it extra humiliating. He even told the other students around who were laughing, he told them not to laugh, and he said some encouraging words to Keshava Kashmiri, that even these great poets such as, and he lists a few of them, even they make some faults in their work. So he encouraged him and made it not humiliating. But still, Keshava Kashmiri is humiliated, and he then learns from the goddess Saraswati herself that the reason he lost so terribly is because he's battling against her worshipable Lord, Lord Chaitanya, who's none other than Krishna himself. So it's not going to work. If one wants to become the competitor of the Lord, that never works out for anybody. And we see that in the case of Keshava Kashmiri. So, yeah, the goddess Saraswati, she's worshipping Lord Chaitanya, she's worshipping Krishna, and in that way, she also does this service of giving intelligence to personalities. She's the goddess of learning. So also sometimes when the demons, this is one of the most fired up things in Srila Prabhupada's books and in the Vedic literatures, is when the demons get carried away with their puffed up position, thinking that they're better than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They try to talk smack about the Lord and insult him. But Goddess Saraswati turns it around and shows what the real meaning of their words are, and how the insults that they're trying to throw at the Lord with words that are actually coming from the Lord. Everything's coming from Krishna and is meant for his glorification. So they're trying to use it against him, but that's not what it's made for. So it doesn't work out. So they speak some insults, and the goddess of learning, she turns it around and shows how it's actually some nice glorification there's one example in Srila Prabhupada's books. One demon says an insult that, saying in Sanskrit that Krishna, he's the lowest of the low, or he's the lowest. And the goddess of learning, she turns it around, shows the real meaning of what they're saying is that he is actually somebody who puts all others down, in the sense that there's nobody above him. So if anyone comes to compete with him, they get pushed down in their position, like glow worms or fireflies. At nighttime they look very nice in the dark, but then once the sun comes out, their position's diminished. So Krishna's like that. So so it's also the disappearance day of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and I tried to look up just before class. I tried to quickly look up some things that Srila Prabhupada says about Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but this is just a testament to how great Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is, and what the level of this very high up there Acharya is, that I couldn't find things specifically about him, because when you look up anything with his name in it on database, or that Srila Prabhupada is saying, it's just endless snippets you get from Srila Prabhupada's books where he's just quoting Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and saying, in this connection, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says this. For this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments this. So we know he's one of the great commentators on the Srimad Bhagavatam. And similar to what we were reading about those in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, about how Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was saying one needs to follow the writings of the previous acharyas. If one tries to come up with some conclusion of the Bhagavatam that is different, or contrary to what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, or the other previous acharyas, then it becomes totally useless. And we see that in the Chaitanya Charitamrita also. One personality, he was saying, I have made a commentary better than Sridhar Swami. And Lord Chaitanya insults him in a really awesome way. And he tells him that I consider one who doesn't follow the Swami, because Swami also means husband. So he says, one who doesn't follow the Swami, I consider to be a prostitute. So he just calls this person a prostitute. So we shouldn't be prostitutes by speculating and making up some, new idea contrary to the previous acharyas. But if we follow in the line, just like what Srila Prabhupada is doing, when he's giving his super ecstatic Bhaktivedanta purports, you're getting the essence of all the purports of all the previous acharyas. He's not removing something or, inventing some new imaginary idea, but just in line with all the previous acharyas, he's giving the exact thing. And in that way, the Srimad Bhagavatam is passed down perfectly, just like a ripe fruit. Srila Prabhupada said in one class, if there is a ripe mango in a tree, it must be tasted. And in order to taste it, you don't just drop it from the tree, because then the mango is smashed. Because it's ripe, it smashes very easily. All the juice and everything is lost. So if it must be tasted, then you have to go have a system of a few persons. They're going up in the tree and handing it down person to person. So like that, this knowledge of Krishna consciousness is carefully handed down by the previous acharyas, not dropping it. And in that way, it can be passed on. And it also becomes sweeter as it's, just like when a mango in a tree, if you want to find a really good mango, you have to get the mango that's been touched by the beak of a bird or a parrot. And that mango is going to be the sweetest one. So like that, when the acharyas, they're commenting on all of these amazing verses in the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita, these verses are becoming even sweeter because they're being touched by the lotus mouth of the acharyas, just like the beak of the parrot touches the mango. So like that, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is one of those great acharyas commenting on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and who gives us access to understanding the Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada references him all throughout his books again and again and again and again. And then Sri Pundarik Vidyanidhi appearance day is today. Let's see. Oh, actually, first I'll speak about Raghunath Das Goswami. So Raghunath Das Goswami's appearance day is today. And we hear about Raghunath Das Goswami so much in the Chaitanya Charitamrita again. Let's see. In the Antya Lila, we hear about the really amazing pastime of Raghunath Das Goswami and how he is coming to Lord Chaitanya's association. So I think that's probably really long, so I wouldn't get to read all of it. Maybe I can read a summary at the beginning of that chapter. Let me see. Yeah. A summary of this chapter is given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasya as follows. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went into transcendental fits of ecstatic love, Ramananda Rai and Swarup Damodar Goswami attended to him and satisfied him as he desired. Raghunath Das Goswami had been attempting to come to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for a long time, and finally he left his home and met the Lord. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had gone to Shantipur on his way to Vrindavan, Raghunath Das Goswami had offered to dedicate his life at the Lord's lotus feet. In the meantime, however, a Muslim official became envious of Hiranya Das, Raghunath Das Goswami's uncle, and induced some big official court minister to have him arrested. Thus Hiranya Das left his home, but by the intelligence of Raghunath Das, the misunderstanding was mitigated. Then Raghunath Das went to Panihati, and following the order of Nityananda Prabhu, he observed a festival, Chidadadhi Mahotsava, by distributing chipped rice mixed with yogurt. The next day after the festival, Nityananda Prabhu gave Raghunath Das the blessing that he would very soon attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After this incident, Raghunath Das, with the help of his priest, whose name was Yadunandana Acharya, got out of his house by trickery and thus ran away. Not touching the general path, Raghunath Das Goswami secretly went to Jagannath Puri. After 12 days, he arrived in Jagannath Puri at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entrusted Raghunath Das to Swarup Damodar Goswami. Therefore, another name for Raghunath Das Goswami is Swarupera Raghu, or the Raghunath of Swarup Damodar. For 5 days, Raghunath Das Goswami took prasadam at the temple, but later he would stand at the Simhadwara gate and eat only whatever he could gather by alms. Later, he lived by taking alms from various chatras, or food distributing centers. When Raghunath's father received news of this, he sent some men and money, but Raghunath Das Goswami refused to accept the money. Understanding that Raghunath Das Goswami was living by begging from the chatras, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented him with his own Gunjamala, a stone from Govardhan Hill. Thereafter, Raghunath Das Goswami used to eat rejected food that he had collected and washed. This renounced life greatly pleased Swarup Damodar Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took by force some of the same food, thus blessing Raghunath Das Goswami for his renunciation. So, Raghunath Das Goswami really embodies this verse that we hear in the Shad Goswami Astikam, the Nidra Hara Vihara Kadi Vijato Chadyanta Dino Chayo. They're fully gone beyond eating and sleeping. They gave up eating and sleeping and all other bodily necessities of life because they were absorbed in hearing and chanting about Krishna and spreading Krishna consciousness, actually. So the six Goswamis, they didn't care for any of these bodily necessities. And we see that with Raghunath Das Goswami. In some places, Srila Prabhupada describes it as he would have a few drops of buttermilk. What is it? It's like every other day. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada uses the phrase, he would have a pat of butter. A pat of butter is like when you're on that, when you're on an airplane, sometimes they give you a little speck, a little like square of butter for something. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada used that wording, but so a very small amount of some milk product like buttermilk or butter. And every few days, and sometimes not even that. And then also the sleeping. He's like barely sleeping at all, and then sometimes he's just not sleeping. So it's because they're absorbed in love of Lord Chaitanya and in their service to Lord Chaitanya. So they weren't not sleeping or not eating to try to be cool and be like some big guy and have everyone, worship them or something. But they're just absorbed in service to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they forget about all these things. My spiritual master once told me if I could forget to sleep, then I could distribute more books than Parmeshwar Prabhu.
Wow.
and but the point that he was saying if you forget to sleep, so it's not that if you, it means you're, what does it mean? How do you forget to sleep? It means you're so absorbed in devotional service that it just doesn't even come to your mind. You know, so many books are going out and it's fired up and whatever, and then you forget. Oh wow, it's the next morning already. So that'd be ecstatic, but that's never happened to me before. Um, so Raghunath Das Goswami, he really imbibes that part of the Shad Goswami Astakam. And we hear one thing that I've always found very encouraging about Raghunath Das Goswami is so many personalities who've come to the Krishna consciousness movement, especially back in the day, like, in the 1970s. You hear so many of these Prabhupada memories tapes where by Siddhanta Prabhu, who's nicely filming all of those and recording them, and we can hear them and be like immediately blessed by hearing them because it's so ecstatic. So many devotees talk about how they left home or ran away from home when they were like a hippie or this or that. There's so many talk about how they ran away from home, and it's nice when you hear these statements in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, or sometimes there's similar things in the Srimad Bhagavatam that show how these things have been going on in the Krishna consciousness movement since time immemorial. So the different devotees, they can find some strength from these personalities in whatever the devotee might be going through. We see like the peak of whatever that challenge is in the lives of some of these great devotees that are recorded in Shastra. So I'm sure so many devotees explain they had a lot of difficulty running away from home or having some sort of crazy parents or those crazy kidnappers back then, what are they? Deprogrammers. But we can hear like the original, running away from home situation with Raghunath Das Goswami and how his aristocratic and wealthy family members are always trying to bring him back. He has to be sneaky about it. And even though he had all of this wealth and aristocracy and everything, he gave it up so easily and became, the most renounced person you can imagine. And he's not depressed about it. He's absorbed in the blissful service of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whereas we hear when people artificially try to do some sort of renunciation, Srila Prabhupada gives this example. There was some follower of Gandhi, I think, or some sort of pseudo-spiritual follower of something who was popular in India, and he was very wealthy, some sort of political leader, and then he left it all to show everyone, look how renounced I am, but he died, like, I don't know, not long after, he just couldn't handle it. So, yeah, Srila Prabhupada also said we can't imitate Haridas Thakur or the six Goswamis, and Brigupati Prabhu, this great representative of the six Goswamis, he also tells us we can't imitate the six Goswamis, but we can be inspired by them and try in some small way to follow in their footsteps by distributing Krishna consciousness in the form of book distribution and whatever minuscule compared to them tiny austerities we take in that service to become Krishna conscious ourselves and spread Krishna consciousness through their book distribution. In that painting, there's that painting you see with Raghunath Das Goswami getting the mercy in Panihati. Lord Nityananda, he's putting his lotus feet on Raghunath Das Goswami's lotus head. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi is mentioned in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's his appearance day today, Sri Pundarik Vidyanidhi. In Adi Leela, chapter 10, text 14, I'll try the Bengali. Pundarika Vidyanidhi Bada Shaka Jani Yanranama Lana Prabhu Kandila Apani. Pundarik Vidyanidhi, The third big branch was so dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that in his absence, Lord Chaitanya himself would sometimes cry. Purport. In the Gora Ganodesha Deepika 54, Srila Pundarik Vidyanidhi is described as the father of Srimati Radharani in Krishna Lila. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore treated him as his father. Pundarik Vidyanidhi's father was known as Baneshwara, or according to another opinion, Shuklambara Brahmachari, and his mother's name was Ganga Devi. According to one opinion, Baneshwara was a descendant of Sri Shivaram Gangopadhyaya. The original home of Pundarik Vidyanidhi was in East Bengal, now Bangladesh, in a village near Dhaka, Bagia, which belonged to the Varendra group of Brahmana families. Sometimes these Varendra Brahmanas were at odds with another group known as Radhiya Brahmanas, and therefore Pundarik Vidyanidhi's family was ostracized and at that time was not living as a respectable family. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya, one of the members of this family is living in Vrindavan and is named Sarojananda Goswami. One special characteristic of this family is that each of its members had only one son or no son at all, and therefore the family was not very expansive. There is a place in the district of Chattagram in East Bengal that is known as Hatta Hajari, and a short distance from this place is a village known as Mekala Gram, in which Pundarik Vidyanidhi's forefathers lived. One can approach Mekala Gram from Chattagram either on horseback, by bullock cart, or by steamer. The steamer station is known as Annapurnanara Gata. The birthplace of Pundarik Vidyanidhi is about 2 miles southwest of Annapurnanara Gata. The temple constructed there by Pundarik Vidyanidhi is now very old and much in need of repair. Without repair, the temple may soon crumble. There are 2 inscriptions on the bricks of that temple, but they are so old that no one can read them, or that one cannot read them. There is another temple, however, about 200 yards south of this one, and some people say that this is the old temple constructed by Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Pundarik Vidyanidhi father and gave him the title of Premanidhi. Pundarik Vidyanidhi later became the spiritual master of Gadadhar Pandit and an intimate friend of Swarup Damodar's. Gadadhar Pandit at first misunderstood Pundarik Vidyanidhi to be an ordinary pounds and shillings man, but later, upon being corrected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became his disciple. Another incident in the life of Pundarik Vidyanidhi involves his criticizing the priest of the Jagannath temple, for which Jagannath Prabhu chastised him personally by slapping his cheeks. This is described in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Antyakanda, chapter 10. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur informs us that during his time there were still 2 living descendants of the family of Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who were named Sri Hara Kumar Smriti Tirtha and Sri Krishna Kinkara Vidyalankara. For further information, one should refer to the dictionary known as Vaisnava Manjusha. So that's about Srila Pundarik Vidyanidhi in Adi Leela, chapter 10, text 14. So we heard that Lord Chaitanya referred to him as father, and that in Krishna Leela he was the father of Srimati Radharani. So there's one other person actually that gets referred to as a father in a different context by Chaitanya Charitamrita by Lord Chaitanya in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that person we'll hear about
You're so expert.
because today is the appearance of Sri Raghunandana Thakur. So we'll hear in this connection how, here, this is the Madhya Leela, chapter 15, text 112. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then turned his attention to 3 persons, Mukunda Das, Raghunandana, and Sri Narahari, inhabitants of the place called Kanda. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi, next asked Mukunda Das, "You are the father and your son is Raghunandana. Is that so? Or is Srila Raghunandana your father and you are his son? Please let me know the facts so that my doubts will go away." Mukunda replied, Raghunandana is my father, and I am his son. This is my decision. All of us have attained devotion to Krishna due to Raghunandana. Therefore, in my mind, he is my father. Hearing Mukunda Das give this proper decision, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirmed it, saying, yes, it is correct. One who awakens devotion to Krishna is certainly the spiritual master. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very happy just to speak of the glories of his devotees. Indeed, when he spoke of their glories, it was as if he had 5 faces. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, okay, so then it continues on with ecstatic things in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So those were some short notes about these personalities whose appearance days and disappearance days are today. I mentioned a lot of different things, and it's 9:17, so maybe just if there's any questions, comments, or some further glorification of these personalities, that would be nice. Please.
Could you tell us anything about Vasanta Panchami, please?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, Abhimanyu Sutta Prabhu can.
Wow.
Vaisnava calendar on my phone.
Okay.
So he's been sitting on the chair.
No.
Yeah, I'm sitting down here and giving him the class.
You can read.
Do you want to read?
You read it. Oh, you read it.
Okay. Vasanta Panchami. Okay. What is this from?
Your Gaudiya Vaishnava calendar.
From Gaudiya Vaishnav calendar. This is the first day of spring in India, northern hemisphere. On the 5th day of the waxing moon, one should celebrate the coming of spring to Vrindavan by offering Krishna many types of leaves and flowers and fresh shoots of sprouting grasses, things that symbolize life and new growth. Following in the footsteps of the Vrajabasis of Vrindavan, one should paint designs on his, Krishna's body, and perform a special arti for him. It is appropriate to offer yellow flowers too. The Vasanta Raga should be played on this day. The deities in the temples, especially in Vrindavan, wear yellow or yellow and green on this day. In places like Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, and Udupi, many of the women folk dress in yellow also. As it is the first day of spring, many fertility rites are performed at this time for the family, for the women folk, for the crops, for the cows, etc. It is a very festive time. Many new projects are begun, weddings performed, fields of yellow mustard flowers growing. Local tradition. Celebrated on the onset of spring, it marks the beginning of new life with yellow mustard flowers starting to bloom and nature displaying her majestic best. Thus, the color of the festival is yellow and women can be seen dotted in saffron dresses. On that, I'll add a note from the Krishna book. Mother Yashoda, when she's churning butter for Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a whole description of her appearance there. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives like a really interesting and awesome instruction. He's saying that that devotees should meditate on the description of Mother Yashoda given in these verses of the Bhagavatam, in order not to be a Mayavadi and try to like be Mother Yashoda or be like Mother Yashoda, but to follow in her footsteps of pure devotional service to Krishna. He explains like this. I'm just paraphrasing like a lot, but in that description, it explains how Mother Yashoda is wearing a saffron-colored sari, and she's working very hard to churn this butter for Krishna. And there's some beads of sweat on her brow, and all these things are described. The puja on this day is devoted to Saraswati, and people pray for wisdom and understanding. Oh, hey, there you go, Saraswati puja. There are several days in which puja is conducted on this day. In Bengal, the place where the statue of Saraswati, is it a statue or anyway? In Bengal, the place where the statue of Saraswati is kept is decorated with a rangoli. The design of a fish is considered auspicious. Family members bathe early in the morning and dress with yellow-colored clothes. I hope family members bathe early in the morning. Then they gather. Okay, so there's some.
A lot of like extra information.
Yeah, there's some things that the Vaishnava calendar says. Do you have anything, maybe, Motsu?
About Saraswati Puja or like about anything?
But anything.
Vasanta Panchami.
Yes, the arrival of spring season. That's the whole point.
Mm.
And in different parts of India, it's like in South it's called Sankranti, here it's called Vasanta Panchami. But they dress the deities in yellow, like we can see in Mayapur. If you see the darshan of the deities today, I think I have a picture on my phone. Mukundatta Prabhu just sent it.
Prabhu?
Yeah,
Thank you.
the deities are like super awesome.
You have the new pictures from today?
Yeah, from today.
Right.
Uh,
What's the Vasanti Raga?
what did you just say?
There's a special raga on Vasanta Panchami called the Vasanti.
Oh yeah. You want me to sing it?
Yes, please.
No, you'll get envious of my beautiful voice.
No, I actually want to know. Seriously, I actually want to
I don't know. I'm not,
know.
I'm not gonna sing it.
Shantanu, no?
Yeah, but next Sankranti, then I will show you.
So you can see, I sent pictures of the Vrindavan dressing today, and then
Oh, Jai.
my
wow.
So beautiful.
yeah.
So
Where's
for
Chandan?
anybody who'd like to- anyone tuning in who'd like to see, you can look for the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan online, and you can see.
They're really beautiful.
Maybe you can show the camera.
Yeah, look.
Sure.
Like Krishna's like sweater type
Yeah, Krishna
thing.
has an orange wool sweater today.
Yeah, and look, Radharani is wearing she's
Veena.
Whoa, she's got an instrument.
It's
Wow.
really awesome.
And it's probably helpful for book distribution also because people like to hear the name of something like on book distribution.
Yeah,
It's the
today's Vasanta Panchami.
yeah. And then we can also tell them all the appearance and disappearance days and then ask them to take the Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita.
Saraswati Puja. Happy
But this is
Saraswati.
very awesome. Where's Chandan? Chandan is not there.
He's in the meeting.
What
Oh,
about
is he meeting with you?
No, he's on a phone call.
Okay. So I'll just anyway, we don't have the time. I actually have a lot of notes here about Saraswati Puja and
Oh wow.
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Guru Vashtakam. But I'll share one thing on the group so you guys can also read it. This is okay. So let's see. We have a choice. Should we speak of Saraswati Puja or should we speak about
Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur?
Vishwanath? I mean, this. You know what? You really like this Saraswati Puja thing because I don't think you would hear it otherwise. So I just shared this on the ashram comms. So one thing before you start reading it is that before you start reading it,
Oh wow.
yeah. So before you start reading it, one thing that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would speak about on this day, even I remember as a pious Hindu, in a Hindu family, there's this mantra that you chant: Saraswati Namastubhyam, Varade Kamarupini, Vidyaramam Karishyami, Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. It's prayer that you chant to Saraswati. Basically, you chant so you can get good grades.
Jai.
Right, in your material education, and you get material knowledge. And on this day people worship their books, your history book, science book, biology book, math book, English book. They worship and they draw like a swastika and like they pray to Saraswati. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur speaks about there's Dushta Saraswati and there's Shuddha Saraswati. Dushta Saraswati is the Saraswati which gives you Paravidya, which gives you knowledge of this material world. Right? And then Shuddha Saraswati gives you Aparavidya, knowledge of the spiritual world. So on this day, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spoke about this, and you can read it. His non-difference from Saraswati was evident in his non-stop Harikatha. For the goddess Saraswati is also known as Vani or Vak, both meaning speech or message. And in her Shuddha manifestation is Harikatha. Perpetually manifesting on Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's tongue, Shuddha Saraswati empowered his words with the potency and sweetness of the spiritual energy. In an address during a Vyasa Puja festival, Srila Saraswati Thakur himself indicated his identity with Shuddha Saraswati. On Gaura Shukla Panchami, the 5th day of the bright fortnight of Magh, the day of Saraswati Puja, children perform worship for the sake of gaining materialistic knowledge, aparavidya. And we, members of the Gaudiya Math, offer such worship through the hand of Vyasa to the goddess of spiritual knowledge, Paravidya, on the 5th day of the dark fortnight, Krishna Shukla Panchami. That's the day of Shri Saraswati Thakur's Vyasa Puja, on the day of his appearance. So, we actually understand that on Saraswati Puja today, we actually should be worshipping Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati.
Wow.
That is why in Sri Kalyana Kalpataru, there is this bhajan where Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says this very beautiful. He says, Saraswati Krishna Priya, Krishna Bhakti Tar Hiya, Vinoder Se Vaibhava. He says that there's two meanings to this, okay? And I'll send you both the meanings. They're very beautiful. So one thing, one direct meaning, let's see. Saraswati. Okay. So I want to send you the first literal translation. I'll send you like another deeper translation, which his disciples, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's disciples, made. If technology would cooperate with me right now. But I'll try again. Okay, if it's not going to do it, I'll just I'll just read it out. Okay. I'll try one more time. Okay, all right. So I just quoted the verse. The translation is, Saraswati is dear to Krishna. Okay, I'll just read this out. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur speaking about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He says, Saraswati is dear to Krishna. Krishna Bhakti is his heart. He is a manifestation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's opulence. So on this day of Saraswati Puja, we can understand that this puja should actually be done to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, because upon his tongue resides Shuddha Saraswati. Right? In Kalyana Kalpataru, Upadesh 10, Bhaktivinoda Thakur refers to Goddess Saraswati. And what does Bhaktivinoda Thakur say? Who is this Goddess Saraswati? An internal potency of Krishna. By Vidvad Ruti, disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati have ascertained in this couplet an indication to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's vision of Sri Siddhanta Saraswati as a manifestation of Saraswati. Right? Do you understand what I'm reading? Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah?
Yeah, we're following along.
Yeah. So this is like a very important point to note, that Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that, that's the relationship. Like, and in Bhakti Vinod Thakur's vision, Srila Saraswati Thakur is a manifestation of Shuddha Saraswati. So it's very important. And we also see that this verse, Bhagisha Yasya Vadane, right? So she's also considered to be the wife of Narasimhadev. That's why the first verse of the Bhagavatam, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says that the first verse of the Bhagavatam is actually speaking about Prahalada and Narasimha Leela. He actually says that the first verse, the Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya Yatonmayaditaratasya, he actually says that is a commentary. That's actually speaking about the pastimes of Prahalada and Narasimha. And that's really awesome. But anyway, that's just one thing about Saraswati Puja. But I don't know how long the class should go on until, but there's so much more to say about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So,
I don't. Can we go longer? Or?
I mean, what time are we usually supposed to?
Yeah, let's start now.
We usually stop at 9:30.
Charu, what were you saying?
Now we would stop. It's 9:30, 9:31 now.
Okay, so then we can stop here then.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Right.
Anjagal.
Shridhana Bhavani Vaishnava.